Hey, what's up? Advent Code 2024, day 7, bridge repair. So basically for this problem, this is our input, where the input that we're given is at each line, we have a number over here separated by these colons, and then a list of numbers here. And the goal is to take these values and turn them into a mathematical expression with just adding or multiplying them and seeing if any sort of combination of that, if you're adding or multiplying these numbers, will that add up to this number here on the left hand side. And whichever ones where that's valid, where you can actually get an expression to that will evaluate to this number, you're going to take that number and sum it up. So some of these aren't going to work. Some of these that no matter any way you cut it, you're not going to get this number. So I'll come over here, show you my code for this. This one, I had a lot better luck than I did yesterday. So the basic code is down here. What I'm doing here is that the equations, so this is the equations and the values. So the equations are going to look like, the example one was 81, 40, 27. And then the values are, like 190. So we're going to look at, so we have this array here, and then this integer here. We're going to have like a list of these from the file input, right? And so we're going to go through each one. And then we have this variable expressions, and we're going to set that to this function where we passed in one of these arrays of integers for EQ, for equations. And then for every expression, we're going to parse each of those expressions with this function I wrote here called parse expression. And if that result is equal to the value here, we're going to add that, and then we're just going to break out of this loop and go on to the next equation here. So yeah, let me talk about the get all expressions function that I wrote here. So my approach to it was basically that we need to get all the different combinations of plussing and minus, plussing and multiplying. So for example, if we only had the three values, we got to think about, okay, well, what if we just add each of them together? What if we add the first two and then multiply the rest? What if we multiply the first and then add the rest? What if we multiply both of them? And so that's what this line does. It's just going to create a list of all the different possible combinations based on the size of the excuse me, based on the size of the values that come in. So it's going to look like that. And then that's our ops variable for operations. And then we have an array here for expressions. So all we're doing is that we're going to zip the numbers and the operations together. So for example, that would look like this. We would zip it, we would just sort of interleave these two arrays of the operations and the values. So we'd get, for example, here 1 plus 2 plus 3, etc. Also, I learned about this method here, extend. I never heard of that one, but it allows you to just sort of, if you have a pair, if you have a tuple, you can just sort of add it, you could append it to your array, just sort of like flattened it out, and then usually the zip would miss over the last value. So I just throw on the last number with this line here, and then our total list of expressions, it just adds this expression to it, and then that's how we get every single expression. So let me show what that would look like, for example. I'll get rid of this here. So if our example was print get all expressions, and then I think it comes in as a string, so it's just like 81, 40, 27. Oops. I didn't close this properly. Okay. So yeah. So for example here, one possibility is that it could be 81 plus 40 plus 27, and then 81 plus 40 times 27, and then this one is cut off, but it's 81 times 40 plus 27, and then 81 times 40 times 27. So it just gets every possible combination that, every possible expression that could be made by multiplying the values or adding them together. So that's how that one works. And then we have our parse expression function here. This one, it sounds easy, but it took me a second to get it. But it is actually pretty simple. But the issue was I was starting off with 0 instead of just the first value, and then you gotta skip the first one and then go 2 each time, and then you can just grab the operator, the value. If the operator is a plus, then obviously sum it together. If it's a multiply symbol, then you just sort of take the product of them and then return that. And yeah, so this actually worked. I got the answer with this one. And part 2 was remarkably similar. Like, it was almost the exact same one, except I had to account for like a new operator. And so part two is where you're given a concatenation operator. Here it's 2 bar symbols, but it's not part of the input, so I just made it just 1 bar symbol here. And basically it's just so here, for the example here, 156, can we make that with 15 and 6? Well, you can by just sort of literally taking these numbers together and, pushing them together to get 156. We also have the example here, like 7,290 with the value of 6, 8, 6, and 15. You could do it by doing 6 times 8, concatenate that, and then do 6 times 15. And it's the same thing with this one. So yeah, all I had to change was just I was actually kind of surprised by it working, was throw in this new operator here to account for that. And then also the same thing down here is have another conditional for that operator. And the difference is, the way I did it was I just casted both to a string, used the plus operator to just sort of concatenate them like you'd concatenate strings, and then cast it back to an integer. And yeah, that also worked. It takes a minute to get there. As you can see, the result is quite long, but yeah, that was my approach to solving this. I guess I could talk a little bit about the how I did the parsing of the input. It's not too interesting. We're just gonna, just goes line by line to the file. I had to split by the colon, And then the the values, we're just going to take on the left-hand side of the colon. And then I declare a new array so that the right-hand side of that colon split, we're going to split everything by the white space. And it always starts with a white space. So I have to make sure not to include that sort of empty nothingness into it. But yeah, we just split by the space. Then as long as it's valid, throw it into this EQ list here, and then add that to our equations list. And that's pretty much it. It's nothing really interesting or exciting. I will say though, that one particular challenging part of this problem was that originally I just wanted to turn all of this stuff to just a simple string. And then if you do that, you can call the eval function. Because what you can do in Python is like eval 1 + 2 + 3 as a string, and it actually gives you the answer. But the weird thing about this problem is that it doesn't follow the typical precedence rules, PEMDAS. It's always evaluated left to right. And so that meant they were probably thinking that people would use this kind of built-in function like that. So that was out of the window. So I thought that was a cool way to make it a bit more challenging. So yeah, that's how I approached day 7. And yeah, this one I went a lot better than yesterday. And yeah, it was great. I had a lot of fun. All right, thanks for watching.